Well, what's going on? We finally got here. It's May, and they started the P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Shawn Combs, Love, whatever you want to call him. His whole trial has started, and although you guys all know that the United States, the federal system, has about a 90 something percent conviction rate, most people don't go to trial. So that's why it's so high, because most people don't go to trial. But I'm going to talk about a few things I see quite unique with this particular trial and what I think the outcome is when I get back. Okay. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. What's going on, everybody out there? And we're covering this Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Sean Pitty, Combs, Love, whatever you want to call him. We all know who he is. We're going to talk a little bit about his case, not for a long time. I thought some very interesting developments is happening in that particular case. Now, first of all, I just want to go on the record by saying everything I'm saying is just my opinion. It's for entertainment purposes only. But I do think I have a valid opinion, being that I have been in the federal court system several times as a professional witness, as a commercial and residential real estate appraiser, and then back in the '90s, I had a case myself, and I did some federal time. So I think I'm the guy to talk about this case. And then my channel is called the Follow the Money. So I'm going to point out first of all, you know, the whole situation of choosing a jury. It's going to be quite difficult to choose a jury with a guy as infamous as Sean P. Diddy Combs. When you have a movie, portraying him with Biggie, the notorious B.I.G., when you have a multi $300-400 million hip hop conglomerate called Bad Boy Records, when he had you know, um, making the band on MTV. I mean, it's just going to be pretty hard to find somebody for once that's not going to be a little biased, either or, which way. The other thing I'm seeing is, boy, isn't it great to have money? Because when you got money, you don't get the same justice as everybody else. In fact, the more resources and money you have, the more your chances are in the American system to actually have a fair chance. If you don't, then good luck. It's a lot of innocent people incarcerated. They said about 4 to 5% of the actual individuals in jail are actually innocent. I want to go on record by saying this. When you see the Cassie video, that video, I don't know, unless you live under a rock, who didn't see that video? And I do not condone any type of violence against women. And I'm talking from a father, a son, a brother, uncle. I have 4 daughters, and I don't condone that at all. The way his behavior was on that video, I can only imagine some of the things he did in his private estate with Cassie. And I also, see, I mixed it up with my daughter. I got a daughter named Casey. So, of course, that kind of hit home, but when I saw him kicking her and hitting her, and I can only imagine what he did. This isn't a lot. This isn't like a foyer or whatever right by the elevator. This is in a hallway of a hotel. Like, this guy, I mean, this is disgusting behavior. When I saw that, and he needs to be incarcerated if this is how he's performing with women. Uh, all the stories we all heard, we don't know if they're all true or not, but there's been some pretty disgusting stories that surface in regards to his character. But again, I'm going to go over a little bit of what I think is in his actual favor. First of all, they're not going to even bring up any kind of child pornography or any kind of illegal sex with minors. That's not going to even be in his case. So I know the media kind of lambasted him for that, child trafficking and human trafficking and all this. That's not going to even be in the case as far as minors. I don't know if they have any adults as far as human trafficking, but I know the minor sex offenses is not going to be heard. So that's a good thing for P. Diddy. The other thing that I'm noticing, like I said, it's going to be extremely hard to find a juror that doesn't have some kind of bias. And if they do finally find 12 jurors, good luck with that, because they can actually, the defense can go after one of those jurors for biasness if it doesn't go Puffy's way. That's going to be the next strategy, is to, try to find out if there was any bias in those decision makings. It's going to be a hard trial. I think Puff Daddy got a lot of action. I think it's going to be really hard for the prosecution to make their case. I mean, they're going to allow that Casty video to be seen, and as not really to convict him on the actual actions of that video, but to kind of like show his character. So the judge did allow the video to be shown as a reflection of his character and how he behaves. So that's going to be damaging for him. Some of the key witnesses decided they don't want to come. So I don't know if Puff Daddy paid them off, because you guys all know, even though they record everything he says on the phones in there, come on, man, you can get phones in jail now. There's a lot of guys that call. I see guys posting videos on Facebook. I see guys posting fights on Instagram. So obviously, they got access to cell phones in there. And if you got a little resource or a little money, you can get phones in there. And if the guys I know get phones, who are just regular guys, I can imagine what kind of access of phones and different devices like that Puff Daddy has access to in there, to be able to communicate with quote unquote witnesses, or maybe be able to bribe witnesses. I mean, this is just my opinion. It's allegedly. I'm gonna say allegedly. I'm pretty sure he has his ways of contacting certain individuals and possibly, I want to say, persuading them not to come, because for all of a sudden now, some of the main witnesses decided, oh, New York is too far for me. I'm not going to even come. I might not even come to the trial. So, hey, now the Puff Daddy's attorneys are, you know, requesting of the judge that they need to make it clear if these witnesses are going to show, because so far these witnesses are saying they're not going to even come up. So for all we know, that money that he has reached somebody. That's what this is my opinion. This is allegedly. I'm gonna keep saying allegedly, but I think something went on underground in all this time that he's been waiting for trial. So in this time, time and money is a great combination. So if you got a lot of time before you go to trial and you got a lot of money like Puff Daddy do, then you might be able to swing the pendulum of justice a little bit. So that's what I'm thinking is going on. So it's looking pretty good for him so far. I didn't imagine it was going to be this great, but if they don't come up with some witnesses soon, then I mean, I think my personal opinion, he maybe do 5-10 years or something, and maybe 5 years, 7 years, something like that. If they don't come up with some really serious charges, and testimonials and witnesses, then he's looking pretty good right now. So as far as the overall thing, but I think his career, as far as entertainment, is pretty much shot. His reputation is clouded for real. There's so many different uh stories that have came out from individuals. Like I saw Terrence Howard talk about how he felt and his attorney felt that allegedly that Puff Daddy was coming on to him, flirting with him, and trying to persuade him to do some sexual acts. And I mean, it's different when you're grown. When you're a grown person and you can two adults consent with whatever is a bisexual act, or whether it's a threesome or foursome. If it's consenting adults, that's one thing. But when you're drugging people, that's a whole nother ballgame. I do not condone that at all, because now you're taking away that person's free will. That is heinous. I don't think you should ever get out of jail if it's proven you're doing stuff like that. Like those baby oils, they were saying that it may be some kind of chemical in those that will knock you out. I don't know if that's true or not, allegedly, but if that's the case, he shouldn't get out of jail because with that kind of money and doing with that kind of mindset and that kind of money, you are definitely a threat to society. You know, and so again, you guys, I'm not going to take too long, but it's looking right now kind of decent for him. It's like, you know, as far as what I thought in the beginning, so far it's looking decent. I don't know all the ins and outs. I don't know all the, you know, weapons that the U.S. attorney has for Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Love, whatever you want to call him. But at the end of the day, like I said, some of the things I've heard, if they are true, totally I disagree. And it's disgusting. It's even fathom the thought of some of the things that he's allegedly have done to certain individuals, taking advantage of his position of power, taking advantage of his position to quote unquote put you on, and taking advantage of individuals, you know, desire to want to be famous. I think it's deplorable. I think it's disgusting, and I think that, you know, that, hey, karma is a bitch, you know. So hopefully, if he's guilty of some of these different things, he's definitely, in my opinion, a threat to society as a whole. And a threat to a lot of young kids who may have dreams to want to be something big, and then they got to go through a Puff Daddy, and here he is, you know, going like, ha ha, come on, little girl, or come on, little guys, or whatever. You know, that's anybody in the industry doing that. And I know it's been going on for years. Puff Daddy ain't the only one. Trust me, it's been going on for years. But again, when you're doing it to your own people, when we went through so much struggle and so much pain just to get a fair shake in the music industry. You know, my dad was in the music industry back in the 50s, you know, and he was in a group called the Moroccos. You can pull them up on YouTube now. My dad was telling me, you know, how they were just ripping off black artists back then and just, you know, taking their songs, giving it to white groups, and there was no repercussions, you know. And it's now in this day and age when we finally get a little bit of, you know, labels. Now we got labels, and we got a little bit of more leverage. You know, it's just deplorable to see somebody in his position to just totally taking advantage of your manhood or your womanhood, or you violating you sexually. I mean, that's, to me, come on. I don't think he should get out of jail if that's what he's doing. You know, like I said, he's not the only one doing it. But some of the things I've heard, allegedly, that some people have come forth with, could actually be just, you know, something that would never get you out of jail, in my opinion. But like I said, so far his case is looking kind of decent for him. We don't know where it's going to all end up. We don't know what the tricks they got up their sleeve, because you're dealing with the United States government. When you see the United States of America against Sean P. Diddy Combs, that's a bar right there. You talk about a bar, that's a bar, you know, because this is the strongest, powerfulest country in the world against you. So I don't care how much money you got. Good luck with that. And if they can go after the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, then Puff Daddy, I don't think really is going to stand a chance. There's going to be a conviction somewhere down the line, unless he get a hung jury. But at the end of the day, this would have never happened if he wouldn't have sued Diageo. I don't think that it would have ever happened. You know, I think he would have went under the radar forever if, you know, Cassie wouldn't have came forth with her suit. And some of these lawsuits that went after him, I think, are, you know, money grabs, because Jay-Z actually uh, won one of those accusers that was rubbish or whatever. I'm not saying he's totally innocent, but I do think after Cassie got her, I don't know how much they said, 30 million she was suing for, but there was an amount, nobody, the undisclosed amount. So after that settled, then all these other claims came out of the woodwork. So some of them could be garbage, because I know he won a couple of them, but that does not in any way negate some of the other allegations and some of the things that Puff Daddy has been involved in the last, you know, 20 years or so. But that's all I wanted to say, guys. You know, and it's just going to be interesting to follow this out. Like I said, it's a whole different ball game of justice when you got a little money, and that's why my channel is called Follow the Money, because I wanted to kind of like touch on a little few things about, you know, this case, because it is a precedented case, in my opinion, because Puff Daddy had one of the biggest labels on the East Coast at one time, you know, during the hip hop era. I mean, first it was Def Jam, of course, but then Puff Daddy came in and he took over, as well as, Death Row on the West Coast with Suge Knight, which I know Suge Knight. I played football with Suge Knight. I'm from Compton. So it's not, I know Suge Knight. I actually know the guy he killed too. Rest in peace, Terry Carter, good friend of mine, who we did a lot of real estate together. And, he's from Compton. And, it's just a long story, but this is a precedent. These are precedented cases, and we're going to see where this goes. But I think that he's going to come out not as bad as everybody probably thought in the beginning, unless, like I said, the government might have something up their sleeves that I don't know. But with that, we're going to go ahead and sign out, guys. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Deuces.
Crystal Coffee.